What's going on, hustlers? As you can tell by the title of today's video, this is going to be about how to set your goals. Now, most people, they set their goals and they don't meet them. And it's typically just for one reason. So stick with me to the end. We're gonna get to that today. But I kind of want to establish some credibility and ethos as to why am I qualified to why am I qualified to talk about, what it takes to write down their goals. So these are 5 different planners, right? And then I have another one that I'm currently using. And then all these documents right here are all pieces of paper from me pretty much writing down my goals and my activities every day for the past 3 years. So everything that I have achieved, I attribute it to a couple things. God, that's the first thing. Then 2, I think genetically I'm just gifted with a very high stress tolerance and an ability to perform and do very hard things for a prolonged period of time. 3, my parents. And then 4, the fact that I write down my goals every single day. And I know how to write my goals down. So just to kind of take a look and give you guys kind of some insight into my experience in writing goals, let's look at, so if you look at the date here, that says Wednesday, September 29th, 2020. So, and then if you look on the back, it's reversed. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see it, but it says 9% body fat by January 1st, 2021, 15K revenue by January 1st, $5,000 net worth by January 1st, 2021. So I've been doing this a long time. I got 6 books of these. By the way, this is the Grant Cardone 10X planner. I'm not paid to endorse this. Grant Cardone doesn't even know I exist yet. One day he will, and I'm gonna show him all of these, and then I'm gonna get super famous off of that, because he's gonna be like, look at this young kid who's been using my planners and all the success that it's brought him. But not only have I been using planners, right? I literally, when I created my business, I broke down the amount of hours in the day, the amount of time that I would have to be able to build my company. And these are all just like different goals and things that I've done in different aspects of my life. Like this one says achieved, right? And I think it was like I want to have like 10K liquid by May 2023. Not easy at the time, but I got it done. And this goes as far back as to when I was working at Wawa and I was literally budgeting, and it literally says income $197 into my Wells Fargo checking account. So I have been doing this for quite a long time. Like I've been setting goals for the better part of half a decade. So I'm like coming up on 5 years of writing down my activities every single day for the past 4 years. So kind of what we're going to talk about is how to set goals, how to adhere to them, how to write them, and then also how to write your affirmations, and then kind of why you don't meet your goals. So the first step to any goal, right, is you have to visualize it. And you have to think in your mind about, what you want to achieve, and think beyond like your wildest dreams, right? Like don't place any limitations as you think about these goals, right? So, okay, boom, we've thought about it. Now we've got it in our mind. The second thing that we need to do is we need to give ourselves a time horizon, right? So your goals need to be measurable, because if you just say, hey, I want to, like, let's say you're like, oh, I want to get better at running. That's great, but you could run 1 mile today in 8 minutes. You run a mile tomorrow in 7 minutes and 58 seconds. Yeah, you got better at running, objectively speaking, but was that, your goal? So it has to be measurable. Like you have to have, some kind of metric. And then 2, you have to have like a time horizon. You have to have a deadline. And then 3, it has to be realistic. 4, you want it to be achievable in that time span, right? So let's just say you're like, okay, I want to make 100. I want to make 100 grand, right? Okay, cool. You want to make 100 grand in 2024. Now you pretty much have to say, what's my deadline? So I want to make 100 grand in 2024 by December 1st. All right, cool. So now you've got yourself a deadline. So now that we've kind of imagined the goal, now we have to reverse engineer it, right? So we're pretty much going to be in March. So let's just say March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So let's just say you have 8 months, right? So now we need to make our goals into bite-sized chunks, because when you just think of your goal from a macro perspective and you're like, oh, 100K, that's kind of like a hard pill to swallow, right? And that's one of the main reasons why people don't meet their goals, is they're just like, oh, I want to make 100K. And then you make 20K and then you're just like, oh, I'm not making any progress. So that 100K still feels far away. You got to break it down into bite-sized goals, right? So let's just say we're doing, 100K in 8 months. So that's like a little bit over 10K a month. I don't know off the top of my head. Hold on, I'm gonna calculate it. I'm literally saying I'm gonna calculate it, and I'm looking for my phone, and my phone is literally using this to record. Let's just type it in Google. 100K divided by 8. All right, so realistically, you need to be making $12,500 a month every single week, right? Or every single month. So that's a lot more manageable than 100K. Now, if we do 12,500 divided by 4, we got to break it down even further. So now that means it's $3,125 per week. There's 4 weeks in a month. Boom, there you go, right? So you got to break your goals down into bite-sized things, right? Into bite-sized portions. That $3,125 a week, that's a lot more manageable than, 100K over a year. So then what I like to do, depending on how aggressively I'm trying to achieve that goal, right? 3,125 divided by, let's say, 7 ends up being $446.42 per day. The reason why I use 7 instead of 5, people still spend money on Sundays. Days are just days. People spend less people spend money on Sundays, but people still spend money on Sundays. So if you want to be aggressive, you got to give yourself as much time as you can and as much of a chance as possible, right? So now we've got our goal down into bite-sized chunks. All you really only need to do is pretty much make $450 a day. And then the cool thing about goals is, maybe you sell $450 on Monday, you don't do anything on Tuesday. On Wednesday, you just make $900. Boom, there you go. It's easy. Now that we've got, kind of the metrics, now we have to condition our minds to believing that we can achieve them, right? And the first step to doing that is thinking about it. But then the second step is you have to condition yourself and write it down. The first time you think of something, that's like the birth of the idea. And then when you write it down, then you're like, going into labor, right? If you're a mom giving birth. And then as you're taking the steps to achieve it, then it's like you're raising and you're nurturing the child, and then the child becomes a full-grown adult, and then you've essentially achieved the idea. So now let's kind of talk about writing down the affirmations that you need to have to kind of achieve these goals. So I actually have them right behind my laptop here, so I'm going to show you guys. So oftentimes when people write down their affirmations, they're like, oh, I will become $100,000 salesman, or I am, a good boyfriend or a good husband, or I will be a good boyfriend or a good husband, right? But that's not wrong, it's a great place to be, but you've got to really condition your mind and be meticulous with the words that you use, right? So now we've written down our goals, but now we have to write down our affirmations to condition our minds to believe that these goals are achievable. So the first thing that you want to be cognizant of is you have to write down your affirmations in the present tense. So you can't say I will be or I'm going to become. You say I am. So this says I am a multi-million-dollar business owner. I am a high-performing endurance athlete. I am a wildly successful government contractor, right? So your brain doesn't know the difference between I will be or I am becoming versus I am. I am is present tense, right? And the only difference between who you want to be and who you are now is the choices that you make. And you have to start, the day that you write down these goals and these affirmations by telling yourself, I'm already $100,000 salesman. Then you're conditioning your mind to believe it. So then the steps that you take, the decisions that you make are going to align with those goals. And now you're going to be a lot more cautious about your energy. People think achieving their goals is just doing something and saying yes to doing the hard things, but it's also saying no to a lot of the stuff that doesn't align with your goals, right? So if you're a $100,000 salesman, you're not going to go out on a Wednesday night and get absolutely obliterated knowing that there's still 4 more money-making days in the week that you have to take advantage of, right? So you're going to say no to going out to happy hour, say no to hanging out, with your friends to achieve that goal, right? So you've got to condition your mind to get in that space by saying, I am a multi-million-dollar government contractor. I am $100,000 per year kind of salesman, right? Now, let's take a look at this from a macro perspective, right? We've envisioned our goals, we've written them down, we've broken them into macro sized pieces, and then now we've got the affirmations to go with them. But fun fact, only 3% of people write down their goals daily, which again, non-coincidentally, is the same amount of people that are considered to be world-class performers, right? So you've got to be writing down these goals every single day. Now, what I like to do to kind of, hit both sides of it is I like to have my big goals on top. So I have become an instrument rated pilot, become a commercial pilot, become a certified flight instructor, which I'll show you guys, right? So I have the big overarching goal, right? So this will be I want to make 100K by December 1st. Or I want to become, I want to take my wife on, 2 dates a month to be a better husband, right? Then as you get down to your daily goal writing, it's got to be like the small steps that you take, right? So you might say monthly, okay, I want to make $12,500 overarching for the month. And then in terms of like the actual days, right, you might want to get another piece of paper, another notebook, or you can use just one notebook like the Grant Cardone planner, and then do your individual targets for each day, right? So my individual targets are, an 11-mile run, and then create 10 chapters for my ebook, and then study and pass my commercial written, and then post on LinkedIn and on YouTube. Those are my daily goals that align with my monthly goals, which then align with my yearly goals. And I write down my monthly goals every day, then my daily goals. Then after I write down my daily goals at the end of the night, I summarize my successes, right? So you've got to build momentum. Never disrespect momentum. You can use it and it's a very, very powerful tool. Then you write down your successes. Now you've got momentum. And then if you really, really want to get proficient at achieving your goals, right? Every single thing I've ever written down, I've achieved. If you really, really want to get proficient, then you got to write down your goals again. So in the morning and at night, it's being ingrained into your mind twice a day. And you wake up the next morning and then you do it all over again. And then each individual day's goals, they're going to be different based on what you either hope to achieve that day or what you didn't achieve in the previous day, right? So just to kind of recap, the first step to achieving your goal is, thinking about it. Then you've got to kind of conceive the goal, write it down on paper. Then you've got to write down your affirmations, making yourself believe that you are the person that is willing to achieve, or that is achieving these goals and can become these things. Then you've got to write down your daily targets, which help you meet your weekly goals. And then after you write down your daily targets, then you've got to write down your your daily successes, which allow you to stack your momentum. And then after you've written down your successes, you've got to remind yourself why those successes are valuable by writing down your weekly goals that you just achieved. And again, the biggest reason that most people don't achieve their goals is because they don't break them down into bite-sized things, right? So if you're trying to make 100K in the next, 8 months, you make your 20K. In 2 months, you're actually ahead of the curve, but then you're going to fall off because you're like, oh, I still have 80K to go. When in reality, you're on a great pace, but you're just feeling dejected because you don't have any perspective. the main reason why people don't achieve their goals is because they only look at them from a macro perspective. They're not measurable, they're not timed, they don't have a deadline, and then they're not realistic, and then they don't affirm that they're the kind of person that can achieve their goals in their brain. So those are my tips for achieving your goals. So I hope you guys take that and you employ it. You go to CVS, buy yourself a notebook, and break your notebook down into 4 parts. Each page should be broken down into 4 parts, right? Your monthly goals, your daily goals, your successes, and then again your monthly goals. And then as you start to fill up that notebook, you'll keep it, and then you'll be able to look back on it as well, and give yourself even more momentum. So those are my tips for achieving your goals. Those are my thought processes on why most people don't achieve their goals, and those are kind of the solutions that you can employ to kind of find some success with your goal setting. So get out there and smash it in 2024.